the nitty-gritty. Conversations get real live, it's time for the nitty-gritty. The revolution's not televised, it's time for the nitty-gritty. Reaching out to your conscious mind, it's time for the nitty-gritty. More than talking, we're taking action, it's time for the nitty-gritty.
YouTube, what's good? IG, we up.
Into the streets, there's a bite the hotel. Soon it's gonna be the cartel. Cause we look like the cartel. Yeah.
Get back to number 16, ladies. Y'all here juking, you know what I'm saying?
Stay round till your powers calm down. Baby, I like the way that you can move around the places when you're dancing in my face.
Yeah, stay Aoki and I think I'm saying his name, stay Aoki and Monsta X. Well, Steve Aoki is a DJ, but we here is Monsta X.
I like this kind of techno stuff. Good for going to the club.
Yeah, I want to say they're all Japanese.
A lot of like urban clubs don't play stuff like this, but I like to sometimes do,
You gotta go to London, man.
nice good dance club or Vegas. They went there.
Yeah, Vegas will play it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Jay DaCosta. And together we all the nitty-gritty. Yo, we got some Steve Aoki and Monsta X playing. This is their latest single. Play it cool, pretty dope. You know, if y'all like dance music, this is a good little jam. You know. Oh. Play it cool. You know, a little fist pump. Yo, what's up, Marvin? What's going on, brother? Alright, just having a little fun, you know. Yeah, so check that out. Steve Aoki, Monsta X, the latest single, Play It Cool, pretty dope. Yo, what's up, Nate? So look, we got a pretty cool show lined up for you guys today. We're gonna be talking about a few things. We're gonna hit the gambit today. Of course, we was out last week, so you know, got a lot to catch up on. We're gonna be talking about Malik Yoba. We're gonna be talking about toxic masculinity. Is there an attack on toxic masculinity right now in America? You know, let's talk about that. Also, we want to talk about this latest H&M campaign. Kat got a whole lot to say about that, right? And then also, we want to talk about snitching. I think y'all know where I'm going with that. 6'9", 6'9", 6'9", and we ain't talking about sex, we're talking about snitches. So anyway, hold on, what did Mama say before we start our seafood?
Where's Marvin from?
He from Louisiana, so you know, he be talking about...
No,
you know
Maryland is known for seafood. Maryland's official, emblem is a crab.
I mean, I'm just saying, but anyways, but I ain't gonna lie, Louisiana got some dope seafood, alright?
I'm gonna be completely honest, I do not like gumbo. I know that's odd, but I've never had Louisiana gumbo. I'll put that.
I'm just saying Louisiana got that different kind of.
I've never been to Louisiana. I never had authentic New Orleans gumbo, so maybe when I try that, maybe I like it. But so far, I don't like the taste. But according to you, maybe it's because I'm Caribbean, and Caribbean palates typically don't like all that.
Maybe it's something about that. It's not agreeing with you, but I'll tell you right now, being a DC dude, obviously, you know, ain't nothing like some blue crab from up here. I'm just telling y'all that right now. You know, some shrimp, you know what I'm saying, some scrimps, you know what I'm saying, as they would say in the South.
Blue crab is what's up.
Yeah, you know, we can bring up the newspaper, you know, have the butter on, you know, on lock, all that, good times. But I will be honest, New Orleans got some good food, but I ain't gonna just be like, y'all better than us, you know what I'm saying? We ain't not about to do that.
Into it.
We ain't about to do that. So yeah, we got a lot to cover, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. And we definitely want y'all participation and y'all thoughts on this because we're covering some heavy topics. By now, I would imagine, especially if you're watching a show like this, I'm pretty sure you cover all the other outlets that would talk about these things. Malik Yoba, right? You saw him at CBC, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he was there. Yeah, real extra up in CBC. So Congressional Black Caucus, for y'all that don't know, that went down just not this weekend, but the past weekend, hence why we weren't here for the Nitty Gritty show. Had a lot of festivities going on in town, and we were part of some of those. So nice enough that Nitty Gritty was representing. But yeah, so Malik Yoba, if you're not aware, he was in the Breakfast Club recently. Also, some other interviews and things have surfaced. But basically, he was talking about his attraction what his words are, his attraction to women, and what you basically had to pry out of him, which is his attraction to women also extends to trans women, right? And there's a whole big conversation about that.
He feels he is stepping up,
not coming out,
to talk about how we oftentimes classify transgender women as something other than woman, and he feels like if you're a woman, you identify as a woman, you feel like a woman, you look like a woman, then you are a woman, regardless if you were born with something else. I think that when it comes to that community, I think transgender, the understanding of like their mindset and what that means and what that looks like, I think is still very new and taboo for most Americans. But I do think that transgender women have, they need to be honest with people when they meet them to say, you know, I was transgender. I know that now you may have transitioned into being a woman, but I don't think it is fair to meet a man and be a woman and not tell him, hey, you know, I'm transgender.
Yeah, and I think, and in response to that, right, if you come across someone who's trans, right, the appropriate response as a human being is to be like, all right, if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm a heterosexual male, so it wouldn't be my thing. However, that wouldn't cause me to try to kill that person. You get what I'm saying? Like that. Now and I think that's what people don't understand is you can advocate for saying, okay, murder is wrong and discrimination is wrong. You shouldn't like not hire someone because they're trans. You should not service someone at a business because they're trans. But at the same time, I can service you. I can treat you like a basic human being, but I don't have to accept maybe all your ideologies. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to be like, okay, I don't have to learn all of the lingo and all that stuff, because me not getting into and advocating for that doesn't mean I hate the person or I dislike the individual. It's just saying like, look, that's not me. I don't understand it, all of that. But I think sometimes as humans, we just need to be able to agree to a basic point, which is I shouldn't treat you any different. Mm-hmm. I should respect the fact that you were still alive. Mm-hmm. You're a human being. We all bleed red, right? But I think sometimes where the conversation gets weird is sometimes I feel like people who are maybe not supporters of the lifestyle, or maybe that's not what they're into, we get demonized because we say, hey, you know, that's just not my thing. But at the same time, I'm still standing up for you in the sense that, yeah, you should be able to vote. You shouldn't be taken away from a job. Like,
I am an advocate for trans, LGBTQ folks, just because my heart goes out to them, because I feel like many of them are displaced. Many of them don't have the same, not all of them, some of them have good support, but when you talk to me, they don't have the support mm-hmm. and the love. And so for me, I'm always concerned about their heart and their mental state.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
From that point, that angle, I'm always like, you know, let me give you a hug. Let's talk about what's going on.
Yeah,
many of them
don't alienate folks.
Many of them, you know, divulge and tell me, you know, their life's journey, and it's generally really hard. Where I get a little confused is that yes, trans women identify as being women, and yes, trans women should have rights. But there are definitely some blurred lines where I can't agree, and here's one of them. So, as you guys have heard, there are a lot of trans women who are running track, and they're winning, and they feel as though they should be, you know, considered a woman and running. And for me, I have a problem with that. I think that trans women should create their own Olympics or have their own platform to run against one another, to compete against one another, and that should be that. At the end of the day, biologically, whether you don't feel as a woman, you have a lot of testosterone, and you are still have attributes of a man, and men are physically stronger than women, right? I ran track. I ran track, and it was a distinction that a man's time for a 100 is going to be very different than a woman's time for a 100. You have never seen a woman run as fast as Usain Bolt, and probably never will, because a man has more testosterone, he's bigger, things of that nature. So as a trans woman, I do not like the idea of them competing against biologically regular women, but I do think that they should be able to compete. I think that they should create a category in the Olympics for trans women, trans men, and allow them to compete and have that celebration as well.
Yeah, because someone should be allowed to compete. It's just kind of like you have to carve out a niche.
Yeah.
For that competition. You get what I'm saying? Now, like when you start talking about the conversation in the bathrooms, I know that gets muddled. I think a great response to it has been what they've done in liberal areas like DC or New York. They just have genderless bathrooms, right? Let's just cut that conversation right there. Let's not even argue about it. Okay, you know what? We just like, for instance, like one restaurant that I frequent often in DC. Oh man, I can't even think of the name of the joint now. Right there on 11th Street. But anyways, like their bathroom, a lot of bathrooms like this. You just go into there, the bathroom is kind of open, and they're just individual stalls, and then the sinks are shared. You get what I'm saying?
But to
easy fix.
But
easy fix.
Let's just go back to Malik Yoba. I think where I was confused with his interview with the Breakfast Club is that he said he's stepping up, and then he talks about how he was going to balls, which is like where a lot of the LGBTQA+ community goes to in New York.
Yeah,
and so my thing is, Malik Yoba likes trans women, and I think that he should just make the he should just point blank.
Just come straight out and say
I like trans women. I find them to be attractive. And let me tell you, there are a lot of fabulous trans women, right? I watched the show Pose. Honey, they have these ridiculous, crazy bomb shapes. Their makeup is on point. Their hair is on point. They are fabulous. I get it. Just come out and just say you like trans women. Like, this whole I'm stepping up, I'm not coming out because technically I'm not gay because they're women. Ooh, sorry, excuse me.
Bless you.
It was just a weird terminology. So if you are from the community, let me know what that stepping up means, because I had never heard of that. And hey, we are in a place where maybe we want to get educated. I don't know what stepping up is, but let me know if you like that terminology. For me, that's like a softer way of saying I'm coming out, but I'm not coming out. So in his mind, I'm stepping up to bring attention to the trans community and advocate for them. And I get it. I just want him to just be authentic about what he likes. And to his point,
but even looking at the interview though, they weren't even all. So for anybody who's seen it, it was on the Breakfast Club, and I think what's his name, David Johns is his name. He's an advocate. Yeah. So you know he sits on a lot of different boards and forums concerning LGBT.
He was trying to put words in Malik Yoba's mouth. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I mean, because I think people have various understandings of that, and I think the issue I had with him, right, is like not everybody is going to embrace your movement at the same level. Like for instance, even when you're dealing with being black and advocacy for us, right, at the base level, I know everybody's not going to know who Shaka Zulu is. I don't expect people to understand the history of black Israelites and who the real Jews are. That's a certain level of education I know I have. What's up, Lana? But I don't expect everyone to embrace that much education. But what I do want from white people at base level is, look, you may call me African American, you may call me black. I'm not going to really get into the grinds of that. But respect my life, right? Respect my citizenship. That's a base level that I can ask of people, right? Now, if you don't understand the intricacies of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Toure Kwame, if you don't get into the life from that level, I get it. I'm cool with that. But I don't need you to but at base, if my hands are raised and you see me get shot down in the middle of the street and the cameras are there, don't try to demonize me as a human. Say that the police was wrong when they killed me with my hands up. At a base level, respect me. And I think when we're dealing with LGBT, and this may not be a popular thing to say, is I think sometimes for that community, and we've had conversations with folks up here. We've had and my thing is, I think sometimes people just have to accept basic humanity, right? I think sometimes from the LGBT, if they can meet people halfway by saying, look, okay, you may not understand all of our words, you may not understand all of our classifications, all the science we're using to push, you know, what we feel about ourselves, but at least what you can do is give some folks a break when we say, look, I would hire you the same as anybody else, I would serve you the same as anybody else, and if you were to get beat up in the middle of the street, I would advocate for someone doing wrong by you like anyone else. I respect your humanity. And
I think that's what he was talking about. Malik Yoba feels that him coming out, and that it started because there was a guy who liked transgender women, and he got bullied, and subsequently he committed suicide.
I thought that was a trans male though, wasn't it? No. It was a trans woman that committed suicide, I thought?
No, it was a regular heterosexual male, but he engaged with liking trans women, and guys in New York were like clowning him, and he felt so like overwhelmed by the people clowning him, he committed suicide. So that's how the conversation started. So to your point, Malik Yoba feels like he wants to advocate, but even when he was at CBC, he was saying people were making fun of him, calling him the F word, and
see, there's no need for all of that, right?
And so that's considered toxic masculinity, in that you feel like you have to down another man for his preferences.
So, yeah, one shouldn't talk about someone, period, right? But the whole thing about toxic masculinity to me gets muddled, because at the same time, it's like I can have a preferred, and I'm using my words correctly, I can have a preferred standard for my son, right? And for me to have a preferred standard for my son doesn't mean I'm engaged in toxic masculinity. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and beat him up or something if he makes a lifestyle choice. But I do have, and I do teach, a preferred standard to my children. But that's not toxic masculinity.
In the
toxic masculinity is when,
let us know if you agree with Juan that you feel there should be a preferred standard for your son and
that's for as for me and my house. Okay?
You gonna serve the Lord.
Yeah, look, as for me and my house. Now how other people do in their homes, that's their business. But as for me and my house, there is a preferred standard that we share. No different than if someone has a home where they serve or practice Buddhism, or someone else in their home is Muslim. You get what I'm saying? As for me and my house, there's a preferred standard. But just because I have that preferred standard in my home, it doesn't mean I hate someone who doesn't practice that standard. Mind you, I have friends that are Muslim. I have friends that practice other religions. I have some friends that are atheists, right? And at the same time, I also have people, friends and people I associate with, family members that are gay and all of that. But as for me and my house, I have a preferred standard within my home. And there's nothing wrong with that. You get what I'm saying?
So do you guys feel, and also want, that there is an attack on masculinity? Because we hear these buzzwords as of lately: hyper-masculinity, toxic masculinity. I do think there is a such thing as toxic masculinity, especially during the early 2000s hip-hop era. I feel like there were a lot of men that would talk about other men who weren't having sex.
What's up?
I feel like there was a lot of men who were talking about men who dress different, and so in that regard, I do think there is such thing as toxic masculinity. But I do think at the same time there is an attack on masculinity, because for the first time ever, I feel like women are in a place where we're becoming empowered, and I feel like men in their homes should feel like the castle. Should feel like a king in their castle. I'm kind of traditional in that I feel like, you know, men should be respected. There should be
yes.
There should be some male authority. For example, when my father speaks, we all listen. When my father walks into a room, there is just a level of respect that he garners, you know what I'm saying, as a dominant male. And I feel like a lot of times, I don't know what happened to that in the home, but I know a lot of women were talking about Fantasia when she talked about she submits to her husband. Oh no, I'm not submitting to my husband. And it's all this, you know, the LGBTQ community are saying that there's toxic masculinity. And I do believe that there is toxic masculinity, but I also think that masculinity, meaning the essence of a man, you know, how he smells, how he acts, how he is supposed to lead and cover. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like it's almost foreign. Like, I feel like there are men who don't even know how to be men. I don't know if it's because of their teaching, their dealings, or what, but what do you guys think? I do feel like there's both going on, and I don't know what that means. Like, how are we defining manhood? How are we defining masculinity? What are those definitions?
So Lana has a good point here. Lana says, I don't think it's an attack. I think it's a tipping of the scale. Previously, women were the topic of attack. Now it's men, and it's a balance.
I like that perspective. That's what's going on.
And I like that perspective. Also, she said it's not being taught because it's being demonized. So, and I think you bring up a great point. There is a sense of balance. Like there is definitely like a need for times up, Me Too. Mm-hmm. Women shouldn't have to have, you know, commit these sexual acts just to get a certain type of role. We watched the movie Hustlers. I have some feelings about that. But like, for instance, I feel like sometimes women have to like do these things uncharacteristic. You know, J-Lo probably doesn't have to do a role where she's, you know, butt booty naked. Well, she wasn't actually naked, but you know what I'm saying? You know, and I mean, I think women should be able to do whatever they want, but I feel like sometimes Hollywood, this is just my personal opinion, you guys, I feel like Hollywood forces women to objectify themselves just to get certain types of roles, and I don't think that we should live in a world where women feel like they have to. Now, if you choose to pull an Amber Rose, that's on you, but you shouldn't be in a position where you feel like you have to show your breasts, be naked, talk in a way that, you know, may devalue you, right? And your sexuality. I think there's a way to own your sexuality, but I think there's a way that sexuality can also devalue the person. And I would like to hear a lady's perspective. From as a man, I know it's something weird, like when you see women who are always half naked, it's like, if that's all you have in your Instagrams, it almost looks like that's all you have to offer. And I know that's probably more than what you have to offer, but if we're not getting that dialogue, we're not getting conversation, or we're not getting anything more insightful from what you're presenting, for a lot of men out there, it's hard to see past the, no, I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot. Lana said, as for being taught, women have to see that it's okay to be classified as a man and recognize manhood. Same as women scream, I can't see the whole thing, but...
I don't know why Facebook does that to us.
Yeah, I don't know why it does it to us like that.
I just think that, so for example,
and for anybody just tuning in, we're talking about kind of like Malik Yoba, toxic masculinity, this conversation that's going on in America to catch you guys up, okay?
I just think that as a man, there are certain things that I expect. So I expect my man to lead. I expect my man to cover. I expect my man to exhibit more fearlessness than me. So for example, if you are living together or married or whatever, and there's a noise, I expect my man to get up and go check it out. I mean, I don't know if that's considered a gender role, whatever, but I don't necessarily expect that my man has to fix the tire. My man has to fix the sink. He has to take out the trash. I believe in whatever needs to be done, you can shift different roles. But I do think we need to respect men for being men, and we need to engage our boys to be around more men. You know, a lot of these young men that grow up with so many women that when they finally engage a man, it's like foreign to them. You know, he was too tough on them. Now, with that being said, I do think there is a such thing as toxic masculinity. I feel like if your son is crying about something, he should be able to show emotion. Whereas a lot of times in America, it's get up, be a boy, don't cry about it. And then a lot of times when these men are now in relationships and women want them to be more vulnerable or more emotional, they've suppressed it for such a long time. They don't know how to do that. But they're like, I don't know what that means. I do think there is toxic masculinity when you meet guys and they said that they were accused of being gay because they were into the church, or they didn't want to have sex. I just think that I guess there's like this delicate balance in which I feel like, I don't know if the toxic masculinity is in all races, but in the black community I do feel like there's like this whole I gotta be hard. You know what I mean? Like especially that hip hop era, I gotta be hard. I can't be I can't go and say I want to be a journalist or I want to be a fashion designer. I feel like if if a young man in the black community said, hey, I would like to design fashion, people would be like, oh, he gay.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm like, huh? Because Ralph Lauren and them, I mean, I don't know their lifestyle, but some of them are not gay.
Yeah, I think there's a way that you can experience. I think there's a larger scale that you can experience that we try to create these boxes or force boxes too fast. I'm going to get to that, but before I get there, Chris said, how do you present yourself for the most part is how you will be treated. I agree with that. I think, and I know he's referring back to what we said about online presence. Christopher McKinney said, if we hear a creep at night, hopefully Lana gets up. For those that don't know, McKinneys are always on the show, always participating. Lana's his wife. That's funny. And then Glenn said, one issue is men are suppressed emotionally and women are suppressed sexually. And I can definitely see where you're coming from there. I like that. That's actually pretty profound. I like
agree.
that.
So women feel uncomfortable even being sexual.
Yeah, because for a while women have been put into a box not to even have sexual desires and all that. So definitely, and that kind of goes back to something that Lana said about the tipping or the balancing the scales.
Yeah.
And then men are definitely suppressed emotionally. A couple of facts about men. Men are more likely, or boys are more likely to be assaulted sexually than women are. But you never hear about these stories. Even watching the movie Hustlers, bringing that up again, a big part of the scandal that was going on in the movie, why men won't come out and speak on it, because if you're being drugged, right, by a woman and done wrong by a woman, there's this thing where men typically don't come out and say, "Oh man, this XYZ happened to me." So I mean,
because they were embarrassed.
Yeah. So Lynn makes a great point there. Something else I wanted to bring up too, and it's dealing with this whole subject. I think there's been this debate about how soon we should teach sexuality to children in school, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like for that reason, because sex is complicated. PBS published a story where there was a research done with over 500,000 people, and they were actually able to show that there was no gauging, is what they said. They said that sexuality and too many things in life is too nuanced to bring it down to a certain set of sexual genes that you have, right? And I think it shouldn't matter. We were talking about this conversation, the whole born that way or not. It doesn't matter. It's too nuanced. Just like there's no gene that says I was gonna like dark-skinned black women. It's just for whatever reason that's what I'm attracted to. You know what I'm saying? I love my chocolate sisters. That's where it is. And I think something about trying to introduce certain aspects of sexuality too fast to a child, as a parent, I don't agree with that. And I'll give a personal standpoint. So I'm a heterosexual male, right? And I remember, I think very early I knew I was attracted to girls. But at 4 and 5 year old, I wasn't thinking I want to smash, right? I'm still a 4 or 5 year old boy. So I remember at 6 year old I had my first kiss. The girl that kissed me was older. She was like 10 or 11. And I remember feeling like the kiss was nasty because she stuck her tongue in my mouth, right? But keep in mind, I'm a 6 year old boy. At that time, girls still got cooties, right? But anyways, I kissed the girl. I kind of like it, but I know I didn't like it because I thought it was disgusting that her tongue was in her mouth. But the wrong people with that information would have told me, oh, well, maybe you're gay. Maybe you need to experience something else.
What you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? But no, I definitely was straight. Then growing up, I felt a little guilty when I engaged in certain types of sexual activity. I wasn't having sex yet in my teenage years, but I was doing a little bit more advanced stuff other than just kissing. You get what I'm saying? And even then, I couldn't emotionally handle what was going on there. When I lost my virginity at 18, I lost my virginity to a much older woman who was way more experienced than me, right? So I wasn't ready to do all the various sexual acts she wanted me to set up for. But nonetheless, I knew I liked it. But at 18, I ain't ready to do that. And if I could just be super blunt, there are certain sexual acts as an adult, sometimes you're just not ready for it. There's a lot of guys, they joke about it in college, like, oh wow, you actually give oral, that's wow, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, you wow boy, you know what I'm saying? There are certain people that like to do other things sexually in their bedrooms, and that's okay, and it still falls within the heterosexual scale, but just because you're not ready for a certain sexual act, just because mentally you haven't developed to even handle that, that doesn't mean that we start introducing the idea of, well, maybe you want this, or maybe you feel like deep down inside you're this. You know what I'm saying? I think sexuality is too nuanced to push something on someone too fast. I think sometimes people need to explore.
I agree with that.
Their heterosexuality,
and let them determine whether or not they identify as being transgender or being.
Yeah, let people come to that. But I think when we try to automatically introduce so much and push it a certain kind of way, I think if they want to keep sex simple in schools, they should just keep it to the basis of it from a scientific perspective. Scientifically, we know that there's a classification of human called a male, and they have this type of genitalia, blah, 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 blah. There's a classification of another type of human called a woman, and they have this kind of genitalia. We know that when certain types of things meet together, you can create a child. The life cycle process of a woman is this, blah, 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 blah. Women have cycles. Let's just keep it to that. When you start talking about attraction, because in the school, I wouldn't expect the school to teach that, all black males should be attracted to just black women. You get what I'm saying? We can't teach, we can't teach that sexuality, but I think we could teach the scientific nature of what our organs mean, things that you may go through as far as adolescence and different hormonal changes. But I just think this idea of trying to push sexual choices is where we should reserve that for the home, because everybody practices and believes a different kind of way. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And so Pastor spoke today, Pastor Watley at Kingdom Fellowship, and he was talking about the fact that if you subscribe yourself to Christianity, that there's a certain standard and that we can't accommodate everything. And he was really fired up, and I kind of feel like I understand where he's coming from, and I think that in today's society, it's almost like if you practice being a Muslim, being a Christian, being a Jew, you kind of have to be quiet about it because you don't want to offend somebody based upon your practices or your beliefs. And so, you know, he was saying, you know, we're so worried about offending people, but we're not worried about whether or not they offend us.
Yeah.
And that was just really interesting to me because he's right. Nowadays, they have these school systems and they're like, we want to be gender neutral. We want kids to explore. I just think that kids should not be deciding.
Sexuality is a lot, and that's why I use that extreme example. Even at 18, I couldn't really grasp sexuality. I knew I enjoyed what was going on, but I really wasn't prepared for the emotional response of what sex is.
Nobody is prepared.
Nobody. So, I mean, or very few at least. Something that Chris said, going to our Facebook audience, Chris McKinney said, our attitudes as black men is a response to our neighborhoods where we grow up. I definitely agree with that. Glenn Lamar said, I agree. It's corruptive to children to direct their sexuality.
Yes.
100%. Because, yeah, I mean, can they really rationalize what all that is? You know, that's all I'm simply suggesting. Chris McKinney said, while toxic masculinity does deserve criticism, what also is deserving of criticism is the surrounding environments that develop those attitudes. I agree.
Oh, and you can see it more. Click it again. I just saw it. Look at that again. Yeah. Right there. They'll receive. Oh, never mind. I lied.
Yeah. So
we can't. I don't know. We can't.
Anyways, Christopher McKinney also said exactly. If you claim something, then you should represent what you claim. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with claiming a standpoint, whether it's a religious preference, a lifestyle preference. I just think everybody is arguing to make people see things their way. And it's not, the idea is not that I see the world through your lens. It's just, it's respecting your lens. Then we all just respecting each other as humans and say, you know what? That's how you choose to live. That's cool. That's not a reason for me to shoot you dead in the street. That's not a reason for me not to serve you in the store. You see what I'm saying? There's just a base level we could come to. I think too often we're trying to force people to see why I vote Democrat or why I vote Republican. You get what I'm saying?
And that's nuanced too.
Yeah, it's not very clear, nuanced within.
It's
exactly.
Not clear cut. There's not. I don't agree with everything the Democratic Party.
But don't try to suppress my vote. You see what I'm saying? That's where you cross the line.
Yeah.
Don't try to suppress my vote. Don't, if you're in the know, create more lies about the other person because you're trying to trick people into the vote.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Just be straight up on who it is, and then let people make an honest choice as to the life that they want to proceed in.
Yeah.
You see, that's the base level that we can all get to. Don't force me to accept some type of new theory or teaching. Just say, let me just accept the fact that people are people. They're going to see things through the lens. They're going to make whatever choice they make, and let me just respect the life. That's truly respecting the life. You know, but anyways, that's my soapbox on that. Any final comments on this? Because I know there's another big conversation you want to get to.
No, we can move.
I want to leave some room to that.
We can
all right,
move
please,
ahead.
give us your thoughts, whatever you feel in this conversation. I know it's kind of touchy, but it's a conversation we gotta have. It's too prevalent in today's media not to have the conversation and not to know how we navigate as a people. But next thing we want to move on to, right? So, and it kind of falls in the lane of perspectives and thoughts, whatever. So H&M is back in the news again. Black Twitter is definitely talking about H&M. So they found a way to get everybody's attention. And basically what's going on is there's an issue with an ad that came out. Actually, Kat, I will have you explain it, my sister.
Sure.
Go ahead and break down this H&M situation.
So there was a new campaign in which they wanted to focus on kids being kids. They didn't want to put any pressure on the children to uphold any kind of beauty standards. So they wanted to focus on what do kids look like after school when they come home and focus on the clothes. So all of the kids kind of came with their hair kind of, I guess, unkept. And whether you were white or they had a white, an Asian, a black, child, and that was what they wanted to focus on. Now they had photos of all the different girls, and particularly the black girl they used for the model. They had like a side photo in which her hair looked very damaged, and it was in a very small like ponytail and just looked not kept. So a lot of people were like, wow, like, who approved this ad? Why would they have her out here looking like that? And to H&M's defense, they were trying something new because they wanted to show that beauty standards should not be a thing. Kids should be kids. But prior to them getting photo shoot, they still had to get approval. And that angle and that model just, to me, in my opinion, did not work for that campaign. Here's my issue with that young girl's that profile. Number one, this is someone's child, so let's acknowledge the fact that everybody talking about it probably can make this young girl feel insecure, and so I understand that, and so I want to make sure I'm sensitive to that and to congratulate her for getting the campaign. But for a situation where we already know black hair is considered unprofessional, black hair is considered unkept, I'm a natural person, I know what that feels like. I would have preferred them use a model of a girl with healthier hair, right? Because my thing is that same girl could have had some moisture to her hair and some water, and it could have been, you know, in a wild afro or whatever, and I thought it would have looked different. I'm not asking them to necessarily make it look with smooth edges, because I understand that the point was to look unkept, but I am asking that if you're going to have a national campaign using a black girl, a chocolate girl at that you understand the importance of presenting a healthy hair, right? Or presenting hair that's at least moisturized. It looks so damaged, it was like hard to even focus on the clothes because you're looking and you're seeing, you know, the damage. And so that was my biggest issue. Personally, I think the whole campaign was a miss. I don't think that the kids should have ever came unkept. I think they should have put some kind of time and effort and money into the kids. I'm not saying they had to come in there with, you know, laid hair, but some kind of effort where the girl could have had some kind of braids, or she could have had some kind of puffs added, or some kind of moisture, or something of that nature.
Alright, so I'm about to play devil's advocate on that in a second. But
I blame the editor. Yes, Lana, I do too.
Also,
and her mama.
And we had we also had a comment from Glenn Lamar earlier on the last subject. He said, I suggest people spend more time discovering why they feel how they feel versus projecting outwards.
I like that.
I like that. And that's why someone to bring some attention to that. As you said, Lana said, I blame the editor, FYI. Chris said, do y'all ever get tired of emotional and or uninformed Twitter responses? I feel you on that, brother. I think I know where you're going. And then Chris said, also apologies for getting off topic. I think you're on topic. And then Lana said, I saw the campaign and I think it was great, a great try, but due to reality, it wasn't widely accepted. So, Lana, I'm happy you said that, because that goes to the thought that I had. This conversation was also already had, but I'm just going to, touch on a few anecdotes. So one, when I looked at the campaign and I saw what they were trying to do. So you got the black girl, her hair. This is the idea that these kids are, and keep in mind, folks, H&M is selling clothes, not hair products. They selling clothes. And I get what they were trying to do. Was it executed to the best? Considering that everybody's up in their panties about it? I don't know. But I do know what they were trying to say is, even after a long day of school when your kid's hair is messed up, they still gonna look fly in this H&M. That's basically all they was trying to do. That was the hustle. Very easy to understand where they were trying to go. Right? And they had everybody represented, because they was like, you know what? We don't want to have an ad where we don't have a black girl. We don't want we don't want the black community saying we didn't have a black girl. And they try to mess up everybody's hair. Now here's the thing. We don't always have conscious people that understand black hair permeated in every space. There is probably, you already had the girl's parents there, because she had to be somewhere under, she was a minor for sure if you look at the picture. Right? So her parents were there, so obviously the mama thought it was okay, the daddy thought it was okay. Somebody, some parental thought, however they styled their hair for that campaign to look messed up, they thought it was okay. Second point is, even if there was a black person there, you can't assume that the black male that might have been represented there, that the black woman that was represented there, knows anything about natural hair. To my natural hair sisters, and anybody that knows anything about me know I love the chocolate and I love the natural hair, alright? So please try not to come for me. And then the other part is, H&M I felt like tried. And then when I look at the hair, I'm kind of happy, and this is going to sound a little strange, now you can come for me if you want to, I'd rather them use damaged hair from the black perspective than to use someone like my daughter's hair who wears it naturally. My daughter Mira, she's 13 years old. I don't want somebody seeing her hair pulled up into a bun, right, and assume that that's the equivalent to the Indian girl, the white girl, whose hair, it looks a hot mess. Because that girl wouldn't go into a job or go into a school looking like that. They may come out of the playground looking like that, but we as parents wouldn't send them in there looking like that. So when I start thinking about older women who have natural hair, I don't want somebody assuming because someone messed up what black hair is supposed to look like, and they don't know the difference between damaged or looking or being properly prepared, that they assume that this natural puff is now, oh, that means that hair is the equivalent to these messy girls' hair. So that means oh, that's not acceptable in the workplace. That's why we don't allow natural hair. Because you gotta, once again, and it's kind of go back to something Glenn Lamar said about understanding our own lens versus projecting outwards. You don't understand how other races are viewing this ad. They may not think it's anything malicious. I don't believe H&M purposely did anything malicious in this. I think that they try to mitigate standards of beauty, right? And just say, hey, we selling clothes here. We don't care how you look. You can still be flying as H&M. I do believe that was the essence of the whole ad.
I agree with that. I just think that for a messy bun, for someone that has straight hair, it doesn't matter if you're Asian, Indian, or white, you can put your hair into a messy bun, and that's considered unkept to you. Now, we know in society that a messy bun is still globally accepted because at the core of it, it's still...
Ain't nobody walking into these law firms with no messy bun. These law firms around DC, nah, they're not walking in there to no messy bun.
I don't know what they're walking into.
Nah, I can tell you for a fact their hair is laid.
But the point I'm trying to make is that if you were to walk out in society or send your kid out into society with a messy bun, no one's going to say to that mom, oh, your daughter, she looks like she's had a rough day. Maybe that might be the most people will say. As a black woman of color, understanding that our hair is very different than straight hair. We require moisture. We require some kind of,
but you know, things.
I understand that, but what I am saying is that even if they were to do an unkept situation, I would have preferred that young lady have a twat. Like, I would have preferred not to have that angle. I would have preferred her cut it into a twat. Her hair was just so damaged.
What's a twat for all of us that don't?
A twat is like a very short afro, like the beginning stages of.
But isn't that also a kept look? The whole idea was unkept. See, you're talking about a kept hairstyle.
No, a twat is not kept. A twat.
So you mean, hold up? So you mean it's unacceptable for a black girl to have a shaved hairstyle and go into the office with that look?
It's fine to have that, but what I'm saying
the whole point of their ad was that these people's hair is unkept. It's not acceptable.
Right, and I'm saying a twat is not. You don't do anything to a twat. My mom rocks a twat.
No. That's what you're not understanding, ladies. Someone out here help me out. The twat hairstyle that she's described, you should be able to walk into an office with that hairstyle. But the point of the H&M ad, stop thinking from where my sisters out here. Stop thinking from your angle. I understand what kept black hair is. I understand acceptable hairstyles that should be worn to the workplace. But the point of this ad wasn't that people would purposely style their hair this way. A twat is a purposely styled hairstyle.
So we'll use my hair then. If I were to go there unkept with my hair wild and an afro, I still think it would have been...
There's a difference between a wild and an afro versus an afro that you know that someone trying to maintain. Your afro, when you wear your hair out, that should be an acceptable look outside. Hence why I prefer... And then I did get some help from my sister. Lana said, Juan, I feel you.
No. What I'm saying is, if I were to do nothing, no manipulation, just literally go and wear my afro, I still feel like it would have been better than damaged afro.
But you got to understand, from the mindset of someone who doesn't understand the culture, if I'm a white male, if I'm a white woman, they already have a hard time understanding the difference. So once you put that on there, that's something I feel like black hairstylists, I feel like that's something that my black sisters could be upset about, because then it's like, well, how you know that wasn't a kept afro? How you know that was an unkept? You get what I'm saying? It's too hard for people who don't understand the culture to know the difference. And at the same time, wait a minute. And for the same thing, like Lana just said, they didn't know what damage is. I don't think they knew. Another comment that Lana made too, because I don't want to put this one out there. She said there was an entire Twitter about kids coming home versus how they went there, right? And my thing is, I just think sometimes we get upset about things and we just don't allow people just in corporations just to be human, or at least try to do what they do. There was nothing malicious done here. Now, can some ads be done better? Sure. They probably should have just not. They should have just foregone the whole hair thing. But I do think sometimes my sisters get a little too up in arms and hair at the wrong time.
No, I
don't think this was the time. It's not the right time. It's an ad about clothes.
No, I think it's the right time because oftentimes we're sick of being represented in which we're not being considered attractive. And so I understand that it was supposed to be.
They weren't saying these girls were unattractive. They were saying that these girls had unkept hair.
9 times out of 10, when it comes to a black child, specifically a chocolate child with 4C hair, it is generally deemed unattractive. And so if you're going to put a child up there, all I'm saying and asking for is, if it's going to be unkept, that's fine. But at least give me a baby that has full, healthy hair, but unkept. So that way the world can see.
But they don't.
So that way the world can see that, oh, okay, this is unkept, but this is what a full flourishing afro looks like. These people are ignorant. They already think we can't grow hair. They're surprised when I straighten my hair and it's so long. Well, I had no idea your hair got that long. They don't know these things. So it's up to us. Well, that's why I think
you're asking for it in the one small space.
They should have somebody at the table. Then they have too many offenses. They need to consult with somebody about the
problem is they have parents there every time, and also I think what you're asking for it in the wrong place. This is an attitude. This is a campaign where the purpose of the campaign was to express the freshness of the clothes, despite the color of the person or the state of their hair. Right now, I think your attitude is right. If they present this damaged hair on an ad where people are supposed to be fly, where the idea is everybody's clean from head to toe. You get what I'm saying? Now, if you got white women with their hair perfectly curled, you have Indian women with their styles, if you have Asian women with their hairstyles, and then you got a sister hair looking like who done it at a time during the walkway when they're supposed to be fly, that's the problem. I just think in this, I think you're mad at the wrong case.
No. We are the only people group in the entire world. Out of
like Mama said, she said the intent was to show kids.
I get that, but
she also says, Katrina, I see you.
No, my thing is we are the only people group in the entire world that has kinky hair. Every other people group has some kind of straight hair. If you have black genes in you, you're going to have curl to your hair. With that being said, it's going to look different.
Y'all mad at the wrong time.
It's going to look
I really want to hear everybody's thoughts on this. Don't be afraid of the black women, fellas. Speak up.
It's going to look different, and it's going to require a different kind of maintenance than somebody else. I can't do a messy girl ponytail. It is virtually impossible. So the fact that you're trying to do an uncapped bun, all the other girls had messy girl buns. She couldn't, and they tried to do that to her. But she can't do it. Our hair is not meant to be in a bun. That's what I'm saying. I get what people are saying about the whole unkept thing, but you're trying to put her hair into a style that she can't do.
I really want to get other women.
She can't do that messy girl ponytail bun. So what were you thinking? It wasn't even logical.
I mean, at the same time, once again, they're not selling hair.
Right, but if everybody has a messy girl bun and my hair can't even slick into a bun, then what are you're already putting me at a standard that I can't meet.
So let's think strategic now, outside of this situation. I just only want to simply suggest this. I think sometimes from a black culture perspective, we need to pick our battles strategically. Because here's what happens. If we're up in arms about everything, then if you're not part of the culture, how do you prioritize? Like, I think the priority when it comes to black folks right now, reparations for African American in America is big. Taking care of voter suppression is big, right? When you look at us in the mass scale, I think showing us in a light where we could be doctors, lawyers, or just more than just thugs and dancers and athletes is important, right? When we start getting up in arms and making big deals about what really should be nuanced issues, then if you're white and you want to be, or of any other race or nationality, and you want to be an ally, it's kind of like, wow, that's a lot. Once again, that's a lot to understand. So I think the things that we should make the bigger noise about is when it's obvious and blatant racism, right? And when it comes to issues of you just not respecting me as a human, you can't look at the H&M ad, this recent one, and say there was a blatant disregard to African Americans or black people. It wasn't blatant. They weren't trying to be harmful. Was it executed the best? I can see you there. But to make a super big deal about this, when we have so many things we're trying to attack, it's kind of like, don't overwhelm the objective. Let's be strategic and pointed.
Well, I think you can be concerned about this and other things. I think that's the purpose of being a multifaceted individual. You can be concerned about different things and have different agendas. I am upset because as a black woman, where we are told we are unattractive, where we are told natural hair is not acceptable.
But how does that relate to this?
I'm about to tell you. Where we even have black men who don't advocate for natural hair because they think that it's not cute and they prefer a more ambiguous woman with longer hair with a looser curl. I want to make sure that at every point, I get the campaign that at every point people are seeing flourishing, healthy afros. And I also think that we need to educate ourselves because her mama should have known that her baby's hair wasn't moisturized. Her mama should have known that her hair was damaged. And I think
but there's so many black women that don't know how to, even ones who will style their hair.
I can agree with
they
that.
still don't know how to protect their hair.
I agree with that. We need to educate. And I think that what happens is we're so used to being suppressed and we're so used to looking at ourselves and then measuring ourselves against the messy bun, against the straight hair and feeling like, well, I need to conform. I need to wear my hair straight. I need to look more European to be accepted, as opposed to saying, you know what,
but all that did not happen in this
I
all none of that happened in this
paradigm. One, the reason why her hair was even in the ponytail is because everybody had a messy girl bun. The baby didn't even have enough hair to even put in the ponytail.
I think we're looking too far into it. They go to our Facebook audience. Lana says, show a black style that's unkept, not a standard of what we can't meet. Squeaky will get the oil. Black folks need to make continuous noise. It becomes a norm. I see what you're saying there. Chris McKinney also said, it's hard to pick our battles. It is hard, and I think we need some strategy, though, behind those battles. I just think there's certain things. I think, first is like, to name some folks I think who do it really well most of the time from what I've seen. The Hanes commercials, I think they do a really good job, especially for like women. Because I feel like they encompass all types of women, shapes and sizes, colors and creeds, styles, you know, all that. I think they do a good job of that. And I feel like also Dove does a really good job as far as how they present all their models. You know what I'm saying? Trying to encompass and have a wider reach with women. I think what we've seen here is that H&M tried. And when we present the argument a certain kind of way, we make it look like they're not trying. As far as we know, and the problem is there's too many facts we don't know. One, we don't know if there's a black stylist there that styled that girl's hair to be there like that personally. One conversation I had,
there was no hairstylist.
They said there was, okay, so there was no hairstylist for one. So that means who could it have been left up to? Possibly the mothers. That means somebody's mother did that. I'm just saying, it's something to consider. Chris McKinney said, I'm indifferent. Hold up. Oh wow, we get them comments is coming in. All right, let's go. All right, Chris said, I'm indifferent to whether this is worth the conversation. I kind of feel you there. Lana said, because they have black staff, such as voter suppression. Lana said, reference Dove. Yeah, so
I think how we are represented is always worth the conversation, specifically because I am a black woman, and eventually I'm going to have black daughters, and so I want my black daughters to feel empowered and understand that they too can have healthy, natural, flourishing hair.
But I think,
and I understand, and when you look at that ad, in particular, the way they filmed the girl, most of the other girls have these shots where their face is just head on. And the black girl has that too, but they have a particular shot where it's to the side and it's magnifying her damage. And so it's hard to overlook and say, well, it's just unkept. It's beyond unkept.
But the thing is, they're not trying to magnify damage in that moment. I think in that moment, they're just trying to say, hey, look, the girl's hair is a mess, but guess what? These clothes still fresh.
I get they weren't trying to necessarily magnify the damage, but it's hard to not look at the damage when you have that side profile. And so all I am suggesting and all I am asking for the black community in particular is that, number one, that if we want white people to understand and advocate for us or present us in the best light, that we educate ourselves. Because as a black mama, a little tender love and care, a little moisture to the baby's hair would have looked different. I'm not asking the black mama to go in there and have baby hair.
But we're talking about the ad. You're talking once again, and what I've seen from these Essence blogs, what I've seen from Twitter, there's a lot of black women talking about hair care, but the purpose of this ad was clothes. Also, may I add, while everybody's talking about her damage and all that, y'all do realize you're talking about a human black girl.
That's what I said at the very beginning of the conversation.
I understand that, but I just wanted to bring that up again, is because while people are going in on her hair, at the same time, the individual has to see all this dialogue about her hair.
I just said the sensitivity, but the reality is we can't be in denial on what it requires for black women to care for their hair. The men are not even educated. I have men who will be like, oh, it's natural, even supposed to be professional.
This is not.
And it's like, sir.
Look, I agree with everything you're saying about black hair. I just don't think that this is the proper antithesis to base that off. You get what I'm saying?
When you keep saying, well, it's just about clothes, I feel like that is a bunch
Bring
of
this up when you see.
Because every other ad, if you're selling a car, you still look good. If you're selling clothes,
but they purposely, but that's not a good example, because in this ad, they purposely made these girls look bad. They purposely made them look
bad.
Bad
idea.
Well, say that the idea was bad, but don't say you can't compare apples to oranges. In every other ad, they're trying to make everybody look fly, and that's the ad that you attack. When there's an ad where everybody's supposed to look fly, and if they got a black person purposely looking bad, that's when you attack it. Because it's like, hold up, why you guys looking a hot mess when everybody else looking good? That's when you get upset. But you don't get upset at the time when everybody look rough. Because they made it an equal playing field. I get upset when they're trying to style a black girl's hair as though she had. They didn't style it. I get upset when they're trying to present her hair in the same messy form as somebody with straight hair. Thank you, Chris. That's how I feel at this moment. Chris said, we African Americans are very sensitive. And I understand why we're sensitive because... You don't have hair. So, no, wait a minute. So you don't understand. But he said, we African Americans are very sensitive, rightfully so, but it's exhausting. And it is exhausting. It's like, it's so hard. And it's like, we have to be mad about so much. At some point, it's like, we have so much coming at us, I don't think we just need to add needlessly, especially in this conversation. Okay. I guess what I'll put it this way, and then I'll be done. Americanized blacks, yeah. No. All I'm gonna say is unkept for a black woman is very different than unkept for a white woman. When you can understand what that means, then you probably will understand my perspective better. You can't send me and try to do a messy bun. It ain't gonna work. I can't do no messy bun. Unkept for me is very different than unkept for them. Unkept for me still requires something. I think to move on, because I do want to talk about snitching real quick with our last 5 minutes, but Glenn Lamar said something, and I think this is, what a lot of people are thinking on one end of it, of this conversation. The parents were present. Let's just educate ourselves. White people may never understand. Lana McKinney says giggles, but still support at Cat. All right. So look. I don't know if they're going to do this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this part of the segment up specially and repost it. And I want to see everybody's thoughts on this. I think it needs to have dialogue. But, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a supporter of natural hair. That's what I'm into. I just think there's a time to attack the conversation. Before we leave out today, want to touch on this Tekashi 6ix9ine snitching stuff, right? Of course, like for one, I'm all here for the memes. The memes are hilarious. He was I've been cracking up. Jail, right? You know, the thing that bothers me about Tekashi 6ix9ine, right, is, you know, he's in court now. He's ratting on everybody, and I understand these people had at some point abducted him. They threatened his family. It's kind of hard to be loyal to someone who's coming at your family at that point. But once again, on the Breakfast Club and various other interviews, you heard various rappers reach out to him, like Fat Joe, 50 Cent, countless others that was like, yo, young man, chill out. Right. Charlamagne. You know, Charlamagne the God. And everybody said that Charlamagne was trolling him during that interview. But he wasn't. He was trying to tell him, like, look, you know, it might sound cool to say you a gangster, you a blood and all that. But then once you start getting that Cardi B money, you don't want to be associated with any group of bloods, Brimstone, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because now it's like, I ain't trying to mess up the Pepsi bag. He was hot. Okay, hot to try at the mouth. And now he's telling on everybody. But, guys. Lana, that's hilarious. She said he's a snitch and want to come home. If it was me, I'm telling. I'm with Lana. Why everybody got this cold? I'm with Lana. Everybody talking about, oh, he being a snitch. It's a negative thing. Here's the thing. If you tell me people living a life are snitches too, though. Let me tell you. If you telling me I got 15, 20 years, I'm telling everybody. He did it, she did it, she did it, and she did it. I don't want 15 years. That's what this is why you shouldn't. This is why you shouldn't commit crimes. But to Juan's point, if you can't handle that lifestyle, you shouldn't stay out of it. Because there is a certain standard where it's like I gotta basically, if I get caught, I gotta sacrifice my life and not snitch. I'm all about toting my gun, spraying up the street. That's what I do on GTA. But not in real life, because you know what? I ain't no thug. I got a corporate job. I'm trying to keep that joint. I'm trying to get my credit up. I can't be out here wilding like I do on Grand Theft Auto. That's a game. That's not real life. If you really want to be hard, they got stuff like Modern Warfare. You got PUBG. You got Fortnite. If you want to shoot up the block, there's ways to get that angst out without doing it for real. But don't be out here claiming something that you don't represent. Chris just took the words out of my mouth. He said, don't claim if you're not prepared to represent. And I think that some people be wanting smoke that they not ready for. Everybody want to be hard. I think that's the thing with hip hop I don't like in some areas is that I think the message behind NWA, those folks that brought the first types of gangster music that we saw, they were just telling their stories of what they seen, but they weren't necessarily promoting gang culture. You see the difference? The difference was when you had Tupac, who wanted to promote gang culture, got killed because of gang culture. I don't think that it was no wild conspiracy how Tupac died. I just think that he beat up a Crip in Las Vegas. Crip came back and killed him. case closed. They never figured out who it was. I don't think there's no larger conspiracy. And I think what happens is these rappers and these actors and these celebrities, they want to get caught up in a culture that they're not ready for, and they definitely not about that life. So I think that's where we need to pull up, and I think that's where it comes to educating our children to understand what's fantasy and what's real. And let's start, instead of our kids aspiring to be the next gangster or whatever, aspire to permeate spaces around contract work. There's someone who can go out there and be a diplomat. We don't ever tell our kids about being diplomats and stuff like that. I mean, there's certain energy to put in there, and I hope that this Tekashi 6ix9ine situation becomes a
Lana! That is hilarious.
That's hilarious. Lana said, "I don't want smoke, flames, fires, cinders." She said, "Nothing. I'm telling everything some more." Yeah, look, like,
girl, I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing.
And that's why some folks say, don't do. Hey, IG, we're about to log off. Holla at y'all later. IG videos ended. Look, that's why I tell people, don't commit crimes around me. I'm not about that life. You know what I'm saying? My life is on a straight and narrow. I go to church every Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
I don't feel bad for Tekashi 6ix9ine at all.
I don't feel bad for him at all.
He was a big hot-headed, big mouth.
And he had everybody trying to tell you.
But I also feel like people tripping talking about, oh, he snitched, he snitched. If 50 Cent was talking about him bad, if 50 Cent was about to do 20,
son though.
if 50 Cent was just about to do 20 years in life, I'm sure he would come out and say some things. People will kill me. How you act always changes based upon your current circumstance. Let's not sit here and pretend like right now I'm living this life, but if I was poor, maybe stripping may be consideration. I don't know. It depends upon how desperate I get. I don't know. You just never know. That's all I'm saying.
I like something that Sir Glenn Lamar said. He said, if you invite yourself in gang life, you shouldn't tell. But if everybody tells so that the code is long gone, while I personally can't respect it, I'm sorry that I can't see the rest of your message. But he makes a good point at base, don't go into that lifestyle if you ain't ready. Leave that stuff alone, kids.
It ain't for everybody.
Yeah, what was it? Great back in the day, gang resistance education and training. We might need to bring that program back if it's still.
I don't know, but I'm telling y'all right here, right now, I'm not a thug. I'm not about the gang life. I don't believe by no code. You do something wrong, and if my life or my family is about to be compromised, I'm telling everybody. Period. Point blank.
So look, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Hold up, one last comment. Chris McKinney said Emory Jones, Jay's homeboy kept quiet. That's rare. That's true. But you know who else kept quiet? Martha Stewart. She didn't snitch on nobody when she went to jail.
And that
she did her time.
And the guy from
Sean. Yeah, Sean.
From Diddy's camp.
I just said it, Sean.
That's his name? Okay, yeah. He ain't snitched, she ain't snitched. But Diddy a thug for real though. I don't know.
I ain't even gonna get into that, you know what I'm saying? I don't want no smoke from Diddy. Look, look, that's been our time. We out. We about to be out of here. Before we go, we always end with another song.
Okay.
I'm from DC, so I'm about to represent real quick. The song is I Heard It's the Bomb. This is a backyard cut for those that know it. It's from their Skillet album in 1999. So I'm going to play a little bit of that on our way out. Alright? Yep. Sing it. Good pressure, baby. Look, it's your boy Jay DeCosta.
It is your girl, Kevin.
And together we are the Lady Gritty. We out of here. Good.